Now, ladies and gentlemen, within the last month, Counter-Strike has seen its 25th birthday. That all alongside the fact that Counter-Strike has just also received its first major content update with 5 new maps, but also a major fatigue from the community. The fatigue has stemmed from players being hyped for eventually nothing to release, which all goes back to the fact that CS2 is just the same stale buggy mess from its release almost a year ago. Over the last week of this recent release of the MVP update, CS devs have been AFK for the most part, aside from sending out updates from the MVP map creators for this last batch of maps, as well as devs have been also fixing long outstanding networking errors, which has also led to yet more problems with networking and Subtick. With all these new bugs rising through the ranks and appearing in CS2 matchmaking, and dozens of new bugs stemming from this MVP update, players have begun to ask what the state of CS2 is. And a question I have, but also some players in the community, is what are Valve's future plans for what's to come very soon to Counter-Strike 2? Today's video, there's much to discuss. We're going to break down all the current problems with CS2 and where some of those stem from. We're going to take a look at Valve's recent work behind and also in the shadows, but what can also be improved on alongside a bunch more. Now, today's video sponsor is SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a buying, but most notably trading marketplace, that being for your CS2 items. You can trade off your old skins for something new. All you do is log in with Steam, you start a trade, and any cash remaining goes to your available balance on the site. When it comes to trading an item you don't have enough balance for on the site, SkinsMonkey has a large variety of deposit options. By using my code MANDO, you can get up to a free $5, and by depositing alongside using my code, you get an additional 35% of a deposit bonus. With SkinsMonkey's large variety of skins, they also offer daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways. If interested, the link will be in the top of the description down below. Now, firstly for today's video is the state of CS2. To keep it short and sweet, it's a stale, buggy, and boring mess. At least kinda. Now, a few weeks ago, the game seemed fine, aside from it feeling a little stale. But when Valve released the 5GB MVP update last week with 5 brand new maps, it wasn't just the new maps that had bugs, which that itself isn't necessarily the creator's fault. Valve most likely picked these maps only a couple weeks from them to actually release, and obviously those devs for those maps don't have a whole team behind them like at Valve. It's just 1 to 2 different people, which even then, for the state that they did release, I'd say it was a lot better than maps we've had inside Counter-Strike for the last 20 years, that being with CS2's release, so props to those guys. Now, the MVP maps most likely had a few more weeks up until a month or two, until they were perfected, tweaked for optimization, and had little to no major bugs. Which this all brings us to the game aside from the MVP update. Before, but for the most part after this recent CS2 update, Counter-Strike started to have major issues with networking and Subtick, which for a lot of the time it's hard to find and differ between the two. Now here's just a short list of ongoing and long-lasting bugs inside CS2. For the most part, these have stemmed before this most recent MVP update, but some of them have gotten worse, if not caught more eyes and attention since they've affected more people. Now, number 1 is the ongoing delay bug, which for the most part I don't even feel like Valve knows about this. For those who don't know, this has been in the game for the last 2 to 3 months, where all you have to do to toggle this is just go to your settings, change your resolution, go from windowed to full screen, and tab back into your game, or just alt-tab very quickly, and for the first few shots to maybe 30 seconds to a minute into your round or whatever you're playing inside CS, everything is going to be delayed inside your game. If that's a kill, you planting the bomb, throwing a smoke, doesn't really matter. That itself is just a buggy mess. Now, it has gotten a little bit better, especially after this MVP update, which has led to me thinking if Valve have fixed it or not, it maybe just not mentioned it in the blog posts. Because if you go into these recent blog posts and patch notes, you can see that Valve hasn't even mentioned it. And for a bug like this, and maybe this small, maybe also not affecting everybody, just judging by Valve's past, they don't always mention things like this inside the patch notes. Or for a lot of people that don't watch YouTube, maybe aren't on Reddit or Twitter, they're gonna think a bug that's like this, or maybe any other one on the list, is just a part of the game. Maybe they're lagging on their internet end, maybe their PC just sucks, or they'll just blame it on Subtick or networking, which that some of the time, yes, is the case, but also there's a decent side of things where it's not. Now, this very similar to the ongoing delay bug isn't necessarily new to Counter-Strike and didn't really stem from this MVP update, but I think for the most part has gained more traction and it's happened to a lot more people, because if you go to anyone's Discord, Reddit, Twitter, or YouTube, these are some of the top clips up there, where what happens here is essentially you lag. You don't really note clip, but you can go anywhere on the map for a very short period. The best example of this is on Inferno. You're in CT spawn, you lag, you get to go see mid where your enemy is, the enemy doesn't know where you were, or that you lagged in the first place, you go back to your position, you either prepare for the enemy to come around the corner and swing you arch, and just for some extra clarification, the enemy and your team doesn't even know what's going on. So for the most part, people on your team, as well as the enemy, if it's a 1v1 or maybe 4v1, they're all gonna think you're cheating unless they see your perspective in real life. Now, the next and last 2 bugs up for today's list is the errors. The first one up is a matchmaking error on CS2 where you just can't simply find a match. People have and will be searching for hours on end, that being for Premier, Deathmatch, Arms Race, Competitive, or Wingman, and they just can't find a game. Or they'll get to the point where they can click accept and their game just lags and they just go back to the home screen as if nothing ever happened. The other matchmaking error is where the match just simply cancels due to a networking error that we don't know about. This also seems very new to me where I haven't really seen it before, nor has this happened to me on the first hand. This, like I just explained, just cancels the match due to a networking problem, very similar to a VAC Live, or there just being a random problem with the game. And this also just randomly happens out of the blue too. Everyone could be having a very good connection, so I'm not really sure what leads to this. Now, does something having to do with VAC detect something in the background of someone's computer, maybe noticing that they have a lag switch or something similar on there? Who really knows? And I'm not really sure if we're ever going to figure out what causes this or caused this in the first place. Now, for the most part, the majority of these new errors and bugs are very recent at Counter-Strike 2, yet CS2 is not necessarily new to game-breaking problems, which has led me to the question of how are these being discovered and added into the first place. Now, this is all my opinion, but I believe for the most part, these problems are making their way into CS during one of many monthly Counter-Strike updates, such as last week's MVP update, and for an example, the new matchmaking errors have stemmed from that, and previous networking problems only continue to get worse and not be patched or noted by Valve whatsoever. The fact of the matter is that whenever CS2 receives a lot of new content or quality of life improvements, it also comes with a slew of new and other problems, as well as it elaborates on older problems and maybe brings them back up that were once patched. Now, since the MVP update released, we've seen 2 small patches sent out fixing stuttering and other problems that have caused players to lag, and many other errors that are not fixed yet, as well as just not fixing the problems that are still here. Let's also not forget Valve's placement for VAC2. And for those who don't know about this, here's a quick summary. Essentially, Valve doesn't have enough Steam support employees for how many tickets that get sent in, specifically for CS2. CS devs have essentially created a whole brand new cooldown system just for cheaters until they receive hundreds of bans and are automatically given a VAC. And those same cheaters just go create a brand new account, move on to a different game, and repeat the process. At the end of the day, players just want a game with one, yes, content, but also to enjoy what we have here and not game-breaking bugs interfering with that. All these problems from right now, but also this past year, could also be a great example of why we haven't received our first operation, that being for CS2, since things such as VAC2 seem to have placeholders. The placeholder for VAC is the brand new cooldown system. The placement for an operation is all these quality of life and monthly updates we received this past year, because aside from a battle pass and some new skins, and maybe a new mode like Danger Zone, we've gotten an operation worth of content this past year, just not in the way or format everyone's used to or really wants. Do you guys think if we got an operation with the current state of the game, with the amount of new bugs with the maps, modes, skins, and features, do you believe the bugs for those things would outweigh the fun we would receive, or could receive if we had a more polished game? Now let me know what you guys think down below of that, today's commentary, and if you've run into any of these recent networking problems or errors for CS2. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, stay positive, sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.